which I think some of you may be interested in taking a look at, see how the sequencing works. But my guess is that you either have very specific questions about our program that you would rather ask me, or that you're interested in big picture right now and not nitty gritty. And if I got up here on the board and started drawing out exactly the order of the Chinese courses, you would not be interested in that. So I'm going to have these available at the end for you to grab if you want to on the way out, and I'll be available for questions after that. I'm just going to sort of talk in broad strokes. My name is Peter Williams. I've been here for 6 years. I'm our academic dean. I also teach English and Latin here. And I can tell you I've been around the area a fair bit. I started teaching at a small independent school in Lexington called Davidson Academy. I taught middle school there. And then I taught high school in Rockingham County in the public schools. I taught both at Moorhead High School and Rockingham County High. Do we have any Rockingham County folks here? No, the last group had 2. Which shocked me. And then while I was never employed there, when I was in graduate school, I did a lot of work over at Page and Grimsley. So I've seen a lot of the schools around this place. And I can tell you that I absolutely believe that Greensboro Day School has the most dynamic and comprehensive and solid academic curriculum in the area. This is my first year as academic dean, and I'm absolutely honored to oversee this curriculum. I think that we challenge kids exactly where they are. I don't think that anybody has an easy way out here. Nobody takes our standard math course and thinks that's too easy. Nobody takes the advanced course and thinks that's too hard, I can't do it. We place kids as best we can. We help kids where they are, and we have a lot of safety nets if they do stumble. So I really believe that we've got the best balance of rigor and where we push kids and what we expect of them, but also ways to help them whenever they have trouble while they're here. I think we've got a great wide range of offerings. We offer 3 languages. We have Latin, Chinese, and Spanish. We have a broad range of arts courses, PE courses, good electives. We're offering more AP histories than we ever have. We have AP European history, world history, and US history this year. We've got standard courses for all of those as well. So I think that if your children, when your children come up here to the upper school, I think that they're going to have a lot of choices, and I think they're going to have a lot of guidance about how to move forward with that. We do placement testing for languages as students move up into the upper school, and for most other things, they're going to take placements from their 8th grade teachers. I am happy to talk with any of the families about that process more if you would like. I was told that may be one of the things that you have a number of questions about. So that's my story, that's my spiel about GDS. Elsa, you want to go?
Sure, I'm Elsa Rose. I'm a senior here. I'm a lifer, so I've been here since kindergarten, and my brother also went here. I think, either kindergarten or first grade too. And he graduated 3 years ago and is now at Chapel Hill. I am in the heart of the college application process, so I can speak on that piece and what that's like going through that. I'm trying to think of other big things. I'm a 3-season varsity athlete, so I can speak on that piece as well. And then I've been through several APs, including some of the history APs. I can talk on that level as well. So yeah, I'm here to answer any and every question you have.
So before I ask you questions and make you uncomfortable, I'll say that one thing that I get a lot of questions about is about our sort of pacing and our levels of courses. We do have standard, advanced, and AP courses, and students are not locked into that. That is not a track from which they may not wander. We have students every year who come in and do standard English their freshman year and really excel and really want more of that, and then they take advanced their sophomore year, and sometimes that turns into AP their junior year. Likewise, I've seen numerous students who take 3-4 APs their junior year and then go, whoa, I don't know, I might want to pull back from that a little bit, right? So nobody's locked in once they've received a placement for a course. There's lots of room to move around there. And then the other thing I would say, Mr. Billingsley's big on this, and I think he's exactly right. Our standard courses are good. In fact, I think our catalog says that our standard courses are the equivalent of honors level courses at a lot of the public schools. Our college acceptance rate is 100%. So students who take all standard courses here, they receive a challenging curriculum, and they do very well in their college placement process too. All right, who has a question? Yes?
I'd be curious, I don't even know how to ask, but comparing an IB program with the AP courses that are available.
Sure. So I think IB and AP are both excellent. IB is a really solid program, but it's a little bit more structured and locks a school into what their offerings can be. I wasn't here when the decision was made between AP and IB, but I'm very happy that they made the AP decision. I think that it gives a much broader latitude for what offerings you can have. If you look at, for instance, we brought up AP History earlier, the number of AP History offerings, and that we can put those on a rotation and have different teachers who are expert in different areas teach those at different times. There's a lot more room there for a lot of things. Does that answer your question?
Well, how about this? How many AP courses are available at GDS?
Let's see here. So in English, we have 2 different AP offerings. In history, we have 5. In science, we have 3. And in mathematics, we have 3. In language, we are currently offering both AP Spanishes. We have had AP Latin, and we do plan to have AP Chinese in the future. We've got multiple AP Arts. Does anybody know about our ceramics program? That's sort of a jewel in the crown of GDS. We've got Mr. Burrows down there. We've got a beautiful kiln, and we have an AP 3D art course that one of my advisees is in right now, and they do ceramics for that. We also have a 2D course and a photography as well.
What kind of opportunities are there for students who are really interested in technology and computers?
So the biggest thing that I would say about that right now is we just started offering computer science again, and we hope to expand those offerings in the future. But right now, at a minimum, there is a computer science elective. It's being co-taught by David Gilbert and Dr. Dana Smith, our Director of Technology. And I think that computer programming is the way forward in tech. I think that that's what teaches people to be creators and not just users. Right? We also have a lot of things that happen in our physics program and in our engineering program. Mr. Thomas could speak about that much more eloquently than I can. I know that I go over there and kids are having a lot of fun with cars and robots.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are there any kind of robotics extracurricular activities?
There is not a specific robotics, but you will see pieces of that in the physics program and in the engineering program. We also have AP Physics. And then I would add on top of that, I'll probably be talking about winter term in just a little bit. I know some of you know about winter term, some of you don't. But one of the things that we have there is a course for the Science Olympiad groups, and I believe there's some robotics groups that work in there. Those are different events that students sign up for. Yes?
When you said that there are 3 AP Science classes, can you break it down, whether it's 3 science, 3 physics, 3...
It's biology, chemistry, and physics. And our AP Physics is calculus-based, and it's for seniors. Are you in AP Physics?
I'm not. I'm in AP Calculus, but not in physics.
Yeah.
But I have
So you co-enroll, you dual enroll in that and an AP Calculus course senior year. Our freshman physics course is algebraic. We are a physics-first program, and we believe that that's the best way to make chemistry make sense, is to start with physics. So that's an algebraic physics course that all freshmen will take, and then the calculus-based physics is our AP offering for senior year.
Okay.
Are you in AP Bio?
I am in AP Bio. I can speak on that.
How is it?
I like AP Bio. That's actually, I would say it's one of my favorite classes. My advisor's AP Bio teacher, so I'm a little bit biased, but the amount that I've learned in that class is really overwhelming. I can't rave enough about that class. I like really love it and feel so prepared.
And you took advanced biology last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I had a slightly weird path. I did semester school my junior year to New York City, and so because of that, their curriculum was really strong on humanities, but not as strong on math and science. So I doubled up my sophomore year in chemistry and bio in order to do that program. So I did biology my sophomore year, and then transferred into bio. So I had a year gap, but even with that, Ms. Dezo has been really amazing about making sure we go over the foundations before building. So yeah, we had a test 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Foreign languages, my son has done study skills. I've been very concerned about this the entire time that he was doing study skills. And so I'm concerned with where he starts. And
So he will have his choice of which language to start between Spanish, Latin, and Chinese. And he and his advisor can talk about that. I'm sure you'll be talking with him about that. Ms. Bowden, our department chair, will be happy to help in that process. There are lots of students in our first level language courses here, and that can happen for a lot of reasons. We have a number of students who just choose to try a different language their freshman year. That happens with some regularity. We have a number of students who've come through the middle school through the study skills program. And then we have students from other schools who come in and they're starting fresh in their language often as well. So he will have time. Our requirement is 3 years of the same language at the upper school.
So, how much exposure do they get prior to ninth grade to make that decision on kind of which foreign language they want to go with? Because of course, when he was in the lower school, they did Spanish, very little. So I want to make sure that he's making a decision that's good for him and not just going with Spanish because he learned a few words in the lower school.
Sure.
So how much exposure will he get from the school prior to ninth grade?
I understand. So Ms. Gillespie in the middle school and Dr. Mims in the upper school, I believe every year they have the study skills students come up from 8th grade and sit in on each language course for a portion of a period. So that would be the best way to start that conversation, I think. And then beyond that, I think that he should reach out to our language teachers. He should reach out to me. I'll reach out to him if you would like. His advisor can set something up. But I think the starting point would be that visit where he gets to sit in and see each of the different language courses. I think that'll give him a taste. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the different clubs in
Oh.
upper school?
Yeah, you want to take that one?
I can take that one. Okay.
I'll take it too. I'll fill in.
Okay, so there are a lot of clubs at GDS. We're very good about if you kind of have a passion, you can propose it to the student council who then approves the list. And then at that point it becomes a club. I think the only really requirements are that you have to meet at least 7 times a year. And then of course it has to be approved. You kind of have to, there's a form you fill out that outlines what you want to do and like why you want to do it.
And the student council approves those clubs. So the student council it's a very student-led process from start to finish.
I've started a knitting club my 10th grade year, and then I'm trying to think of other clubs. I did that one. I did Relay for Life my freshman year. I do Op Smile. I do Girls for Girls. So yeah, there's a number of there's a number of clubs that I have done throughout upper school, and there's been a lot of exposure as far as being able to do those. Most of those clubs meet during lunch. Unlike the middle school, where you don't have an activities period that serves to like fill out that club, which in some ways I think is really nice in the respect that in middle school you can only do one club during that activities period. But during in the upper school you can do as many clubs as you want theoretically. And yeah, I really enjoyed doing clubs. That's when it started my own knitting club because I was really passionate about knitting. It was really nice to be able to start something and have a community of people that do that, and kind of have a place, like a thing to do during lunch. And I had a lot of joy from doing it. And I found it very accessible, easy, and a very fun process.
Yeah, we got a pretty wide range of offerings. So we've got service-based clubs, like Elsa mentioned, Operation Smile. We've got academic clubs.
Service Without Borders.
Service Without Borders. I've got students who come to my room for a philosophy club, and there's a book club that meets next door. There are more social clubs like Knitting Club, and there's a music listening club that meets in here. So a pretty wide range of offerings. Is there anything in particular that you'd be looking for?
Oh, I'm clueless. I have no idea.
I got you.
When did you start talking to the students about the clubs? Like, is that something you start with in 8th grade? Like, you start talking to them, or you just wait, or?
No, that's usually fall of 9th grade year, and we've got a club fair that goes on every year in the fall, and students go around, and there are posters up and everything.
Always food.
Always food.
People
Yes,
try to
people bake
convince
cookies.
people with
That's a
it.
big one for them.
It's like whoever has the most food gets the most numbers. It's crazy. There's like tables of things with like brownies and cookies. Like this year it was, usually it's out right outside and it's like a long line, but this year it was in the cafeteria. I think it was raining and it was crazy. There was like food everywhere and people started standing at the cafeteria tables to try and get the most exposure. So it was a fun lunch period. So everything's set up. You kind of sign on a poster, and there's usually emails that are sent out, and most of them are majority of them are informal. There are some that are more formal, like Science Olympiad Club, like you meet, you go to like a set event, there's a competition, but most clubs are pretty informal as far as if you like don't hear about it originally and then you decide you want to, you can usually reach out, email, and then just drop in and go. So they're very accessible.
Yes.
What are the requirements for taking AP?
So that depends on the course, which is probably not an immediately satisfying answer, but I do think it's the right way to set it up. So some of our courses, so for instance, I teach 10th grade advanced English, and there is an 11th grade AP English offering, which would be AP English language. We're looking for students who have A's and they reach a threshold on their PSAT score during 10th grade to move into that course for 11th grade. We also have advanced English 11. So there's a very good place for them to go straight away if they don't get that AP offering. And then a lot of those students go on and take AP Lang their senior year. On the other hand, there are other courses that feed sort of directly into an AP course. And so it really depends on the subject. And if you've got any specific questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. Probably the best thing to do would be to look at this program of study, and that shows you the arrows. And then I'd be able to tell you for each arrow sort of what they're
So
looking for.
what is in their control would be to look at that path, but the solid A
Yeah, yep.
or borderline A
Yep.
or.
Unless those courses that sort of one of our advanced courses feeds directly into an
Okay.
AP, that we're looking for a B if it feeds directly there. So
Okay.
that happens, for instance, with advanced pre-calculus and AP calculus.
And from a student perspective, I would
Yeah.
say usually the teachers, like around second semester, will kind of tell you for course placement. There's usually a topic about these are the classes people usually take, and teachers usually pretty point blank as far as what they're looking for in order to recommend you, and kind of like give you time to work towards that if you're right on the border. And if, let's say, you finish the year and you still are kind of on the border, you can petition, although I will say if you petition, you have to show that, it has to be pretty borderline, like it has to be, you have to show that you're capable of doing it. But there is a petition opportunity if you're right on that border and kind of some leadway with that. But through my experience, I found that teachers kind of tell you what they're looking for and what you need to hit. Not that it's like specifically a number, but it's not like some vague thing where you're like, oh, I don't really know. Usually it's it's pretty.
And the PSAT score?
So for, again, that would depend on
On
which
the-
one.
right.
But for 10th grade English moving into AP for 11th grade, we're looking for at least a 500 and an A in the 10th grade course. That's what we want to see to move into AP 11th grade. Our earliest AP offering is AP World for sophomores. And I think they're looking for students with a 93 or above in our freshman GP course. And that's, I mean, you can imagine taking an AP course as a sophomore. That's a stretch for a lot of people. But this is our second year offering that, and it went very well last year. The scores were really impressive. The students this year seem ready to go on AP US history, so it seems like it was a really good addition.
And if they find that maybe they don't belong?
Yep, that's a great question. So we've got a normal drop add period of a week or perhaps just a little more, depending on how the calendar falls. But then past that drop add period, students up to the mid-year point can move down a level in a course. So if they're in advanced and it's really not going well in November, that's when we're going to have a conversation about moving down. Or if they're in AP, they can move to a standard or an advanced there.
But never the other direction.
Well, I won't say never. we have seen that. Yeah, there are students who are doing so well first semester that it just becomes really clear. That's a lot harder than moving the other direction, because sometimes because of pace there are things that haven't been covered, and so that might involve some extra work over winter break or something like that. But that can happen.
So the students take the AP course, the AP test at the end of the year?
They take it in the spring. Yeah, it's not precisely the end of the year, but.
They're pretty much all in May. There's like 2 weeks in May that they line up all the courses. Like it's like a calendar in the beginning of the year, and like all the teachers like in the bio, it's like written like the beginning of the year. And there's like a very set day and time that you take your AP test for pretty much all your classes. But there's a makeup time. I made up my Lang because I got a concussion the day before, so I had to do that. But yeah.
It's bad time.
Yeah.
We've got just 2 minutes.
We talk about the travel and
Yeah, absolutely.
winter term.
Yeah, and I was going to say that's almost the same topic at this point, actually. So this is our 4th year of offering winter term. And at the beginning of this talk, when I said that I think that we have this really dynamic and broad programming, I think that that's a perfect example. For 8 or 9 days when students come back from winter break, we offer a mini term. And students get to take either 2 courses, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It's pretty long blocks with breaks in there. Or sometimes some people take 1 day-long course. And a lot of those involve travel opportunities, not all. This year in particular, I think those offerings are looking just really strong. We've got a nutritional chemistry course. I'm teaching an Introduction to Ancient Greek course. We have a woman who taught here, was also a college professor, who's back teaching History of Children's Literature course. These are offerings that students often don't get to see until they go to university. They are real courses. They go on their transcript. The grades factor into their GPA. The travel opportunities, see, this year we've got a group going to the U.S.-Mexico border, and they're going to meet with Minutemen and ICE agents and political activists, and they're going to go on both sides of the border and do things like that. We went to Spain last year. I take students to England and Wales every other. You also want to I take students to England and Wales every other year, and there's a winter term course associated with that where we do British history and literature. So those offerings are looking better and better. South Africa this year as well, and there's an apartheid course that's being taught.
Jazz in Puerto Rico?
Yes, jazz. The jazz.
But
band
ninth
is going
graders
to Puerto
don't do
Rico.
the travel one, right? Is that correct?
No, our ninth graders do travel
Okay, I
sometimes.
didn't know that they-
Depends on
No
depends on the
winter
trip. So, for instance, my trip, which I'll be leading again next year, I will be going down in the spring and talking to eighth graders and having them participate in the application process, just like our upper school students do.
So you have to be taking that course to go on the trip.
Yes, except even though this is maybe a distinction without a difference, it's actually a little more the other way around. You will already know if you're going on that trip, and that might lock you in for winter term and tell you this is what you're going to take.
But how do you figure out which students will go?
We have an application process for all of these trips, and usually the students are writing some essays, they're gathering some recommendations. We have parent nights where interest meetings happen. Some people in this room have been to my parent interest meeting before, so. Yes, okay, I think we're out of time. Please, when Mr. Billingsley said earlier that if you have any questions or you want to come visit, you want to check it out, he means that. So reach out to him. I'm real easy to find, Peter Williams at greensboroday.org. We're all on the website. We all got easy email addresses.
You gotta type this up.